have the ability to go a different direction. Aatrox certainly has been the most common. Irelia is also up. We have been seeing, you know, a lot of popularity along the lines of you know, Rumble these days, but I don't really think that we're going to get that as a first pick. Lux support, also very popular.
Wow.
That's going to be the lock here for Biofrost. 3 of his 6 games have been on this Lux support, so securing this early going to be very powerful for them. There's also the possibility that can go over to mid lane, though it is very heavily played support, and that's where I'm expecting it to go.
Yeah, unlikely, so we'll assume support for Biofrost until further notice. That does leave a ton of good, strong solo laners up for FlyQuest, but seems like Tahm Kench's stock is rising. That's going to be the first pick overall for FlyQuest here as they'll lock in a second alongside it.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Tahm Kench into Lux, obviously everyone does kind of focus in on, yeah, you can devour someone out of the binding. That is great, certainly, but one of the things that you don't really deal with as well is in the later stages of the game, the shield just becomes so enormous in a team fight that, you know, Lux becomes this super powerful shielding support with 5 points in W. If you're hitting everyone, you know, back and forth with that shield, it can be an incredible amount of additional survivability in those team fights. And Tahm Kench can't really do anything about that. It's much more defensive. It is about playing towards those side lanes. So pairing it with the Irelia makes a lot of sense. A Renekton as an answer into the Irelia, extremely hard matchup for Irelia in the early, you know, stages of that game. Renekton can really bully you around. This could be Irelia, you know, top is where we're expecting because it is Viper, but there's always the possibility of it going mid to Pobelter. Certainly expecting this to be Renekton versus Irelia top, though.
Also finishing their bot lane rather than give Wiggily jungle priority is kind of the other decision CLG had to make there. So Skarner now for Santorin, as they'll grab a jungler for themselves. So it'll be interesting to see where Wiggily gets pushed down to. Certainly has had the most success on Sejuani this split, but capable of playing other picks, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's still things like along lines of like Trundle is still available if you want to actually go towards that. You know, Wiggily has played Rek'Sai, he's played Jarvan. You know, we really can't ban out the full jungle pool. There's just too many champions that are pretty viable these days. Zac also, you know, just recently got some buffs if people would be interested in going back in towards that. Not sure we're going to see it here, but, you know, J4 still available, could easily be the target. Depends what they really feel that they need. I think you're definitely going to be wanting to draft for a strong 2v2 top, which is why FlyQuest is targeting the Elise and the Olaf. That is less about the jungle matchup and more about how does Irelia not die over and over in this game. So they are going to be targeting that. I do think Jarvan can kind of fulfill a similar role as can Rek'Sai, but they are certainly not as powerful at pulling off, I think, those early dives on the top side.
And Turtle also going to lose Ezreal here. So kind of that safe, solid option going to be taken away. Would love to see Turtles Jinx again. It was something that in spring they pulled out a few times and looked quite good.
Yeah, I think it would make sense, right? And you know, if you're going to be going up against Sivir, you're going to be getting pushed in. There's, you know, a couple of different options here, kind of just farm for farm. Lucian, I'm actually really surprised that we're going to get a Lucian paired alongside a Tahm Kench. I think that is very rare that you get this kind of a marksman who wants to play so aggressively paired alongside such a defensive support. You know, generally Lucian wants to be going forward, wants to be, you know, brawling and fighting constantly. Tahm Kench want to just sit back and kind of keep you safe and allow you to farm. But if you're just splitting farm against the Sivir is going to be extremely happy about that situation going up against the Lucian. So we'll see if FlyQuest are going to be able to use this in a kind of a unique way. You know, maybe just utilize the Tahm Kench to allow the Lucian to kind of be dashing in on his opponents, looking for trades there. Viktor, pretty signature pick here for PowerOfEvil, so not too surprising.
Good call on Trundle as well. That is what Wiggily goes for in the jungle. Neeko also left up, so snapped off there by FlyQuest.
Very interesting. So expecting AP Neeko mid, things could get swapped around this, but I mean, it could be on hit. The thing is, you know, you can also kind of swap things around trying to match lane for a lane, and it does become a little bit of a guessing game where we may see down to 20 seconds people are trying to swap. Because Viktor is a great matchup into Neeko, and that becomes very difficult for Neeko, especially, you know, on hit becomes completely unviable. You have to go for AP and try to match along those lines. And likewise, Renekton is great into the Irelia, so I do think that if the matchups don't change, last second swap. Very interesting. There's still also, mind you, the possibility of, even though they're having, you know, Viktor piloted by PowerOfEvil, that's his comfort, they can just lane swap. And we're seeing more and more of that, where people are just kind of playing these musical chairs where they're going back and forth trying to find preferential matchups, and the opposing team is also just lane swapping over and over to try to avoid them. I would not be surprised to see that at all this game, because I really think Renekton is going to want to be going up against this Irelia.
Yeah, I think matchup-wise, we certainly want to see Renekton into Irelia and Viktor into Neeko, at least on the CLG side. But pilot-wise, I think they've picked the right players. PoE, tons of Viktor games on his resume in professional play, and of course, Ruin, capable on these kind of aggressive champions as well. So I agree, I think we are going to see some maneuvering. So certainly look to see what happens around level 1 as potentially vision and scouting is very important in these early levels.
Yeah, pretty interesting drafts here, honestly, on both sides. The Lucian Tahm Kench, pretty unexpected from me. Pobelter going to be bringing out his Irelia, first play of the split for him. So having to kind of dig down into that champion pool with some of his champions getting nerfed and not seeing as much pro play. But a 4-man invade looking like CLG going for one of their signature moves. This always kind of has been a CLG thing, looking for these level 1 plays. But Viper is playing this so defensively. Already pre-warded the bush and is standing back. So this to me is preparation, kind of scouting, specifically for CLG. That you are so ready for that invade. That is a very smart move. And whether that is credit deserved by the scouts, like the coaches, or that is a player adaptation, either way, they definitely deserve the credit there. And they are actually going to give the experience as well to Ruin. So he gets the last hit and will get that level 2 1 minion faster as a result. So there's always the potential of going a little bit aggressive there. But they are trying to evade and try to get vision down, I think, really to try to track where the matchups are going to be.
Ruin's already got 25 extra gold.
He's rich!
Takes the Skarner Spire there as well. And it does seem like he's going to hang out in the brush and wait for Irelia to show herself, presumably in mid lane.
Exactly. They're both just going to sit here, and once they show, then they will choose their lane, because they're hunting for these matchups. So Pobelter, as a result, is just not going to show. So they're kind of in this standoff where Pobelter's like, all right, well, if you're going to wait for me, I'm just going to stand in my turret. If you don't play League of Legends, neither will I. So they are going to kind of guess, though, that it will be Pobelter in the mid lane. They will guess right. So it is CLG getting those preferential matchups thus far. Ruin playing mid, and it will be PowerOfEvil playing top on that Viktor.
So we'll see if the musical chairs continues, but certainly CLG get their lane assignments where they want for level 1.
Yeah, definitely gonna be happy about that. Also worth noting, it is Comet on the Lux. This is not Airy. This is not Guardian. We have seen Aftershock a lot as well. So, this is the kind of most aggressive type of setup that you do see. Traditionally, it's almost always been resolved as the primary runes in pro play, either Guardian or Aftershock. So this is more about harassing the lane and winning this lane. When you are playing against Tahm Kench doesn't really have much of an all-in to speak of, so they're feeling comfortable to just look for the Comet. Comet is hit confirmed by your E because of the slow that it does drop. So CLG is going to be trying to push this in. You proc the lethal tempo with your Boomerang Blade or your Ricochet, then you just auto-attack, you shove in the Lucian, and then you have Lux to harass you under turret. So it seems like a great 2v2 for CLG. And Turtle, maybe in a little bit of trouble in that matchup as the Lucian who wants to play aggressively, but likely not going to be in a position to do so.
As you mentioned as well, Viper basically priced in to going for AP, so Global Augment effectively confirms that. We'll see the GOP Twin Shadows kind of thing going on there as Ruin, bit of early aggression here, trying to get the wave shoved in. Does have the ward onto Santorin, who's now going to sweep it out, but Ruin is resetting the wave now, so it will be safe from any jungle attention.
Yeah, and as you see, Pobelter just kind of have to wait under turret, for those minions to CS. You have to be very careful about Renekton. The early power on this champion is certainly very, very high. That being said, it's I would say less of an abusive matchup in mid lane than it is in top, because it is a shorter lane. So Pobelter has more of an ability to kind of just play safe and try to farm it out under his turret. That's likely why FlyQuest just decided to just keep Pobelter mid with the Irelia regardless. If you are in a long lane, it's much easier for Renekton to set up a bit of a freeze and then actually engage on you when you try to come and break that. Santorin, though, playing top side of the map. It looks like they will just be trading scuttles, and PowerOfEvil playing pretty defensively as a result, but everything going very well for this CLG 2v2 on the bottom lane. They've already almost gotten their first turret plate a couple minutes into this game, and just going to be ramping up this pressure. And the other kind of added bonus is we've seen a number of games this split where Lux is really struggling to actually proc the Spell Thieves, where she wasn't in a position to actually be farming up effectively with that gold. But if you're pushing in you can just proc it on the turret over and over and over, and Tahm Kench is easy pickings to just farm off of. So he's already sitting at 183 gold earned on the Spell Thieves and should be able to kind of keep that up very easily throughout the game.
Going in now, Wiggily gonna get the pillar down. Pobelter trying to shake off some of the damage with the W. Good flawless duet, finds the first time. Double TP in mid lane, but also we got Wadid roaming in as well. That's gonna be Ruin flashing out there, but what a double root by Viper. Gonna find it now. PoE gonna be the next target, and Viper grabs that as well.
That was so well timed from Viper, absolutely insane. The frame perfect root pretty much there on PowerOfEvil as he TP'd in. Gets him, gets Ruin. They get both the kills, and Wiggily now even in trouble. FlyQuest with just such a great move towards mid lane.
Ruin going in though, wants to try and finish this off, and Biofrost that grabs the last hit.
Yeah, Pobelter overstaying his welcome a bit, does give back an easy kill there, but the initial play was so well done from FlyQuest. Wadid had the early base, and he just runs straight mid with his jungler here. So, not expecting the additional member coming in here from FlyQuest. As soon as they see Tahm Kench, TP starts, but then you see Santorin, and you're like, uh-oh, we're going to be down in numbers perhaps regardless. And look at that root. Instantly hitting the root onto both of those solo laners, gets them the kills to start that one off, and then they stay around, pushing this in. Pobelter's still very low on health. And the TP just comes back in from Ruin. They want to shove it out, and he goes down, and now Pobelter trading with Ruin again.
Yeah, Ruin not deterred.
No.
Despite what happened before, he got it. Assist gold. He's still playing aggressively here up against the Phage that's done. I mean, really no major items completed for the Renekton, but still up about 12 CS. Trying to play aggressively into POB.
Yeah, the gold's going to be fairly comparable. Pobelter is a little bit ahead, thanks to that kill he did grab, so that's going to be feeling very good for him. But, Ruin needs to continue to play aggressively. This is certainly a matchup where you want to be in the face of your opponents. You can see the incredible slow that also goes on with D there when he does devour up WildTurtle. So, certainly some of the defensive capabilities are lessened, but, Turtle popping out of that Tahm Kench almost immediately, that is another patch change. So the delay is certainly very good.
Oh, Ruin took a tower hit as well. Now pops the ultimate. Here's Santorin, level 6, gonna find the first stun. Wiggily gonna try and cut him off. A decent pillar as they look to turn it back around, but Wadid's over the side as well. There's the impale. Ruin getting low, but he spins around that ball.
The shield!
With the shield! Healed down as well! And Wiggily able to turn it around and grab the kill.
Oh my god, FlyQuest got way too greedy there. If Santorin just committed the ultimate immediately, I think that's a free kill, but instead he thinks, okay, we can just grab this kill. No problem, I don't even need to commit the ult. Then he gets stunned up, the pillar splits them up, and Biofrost on their own flash, shield, and heal comes through. They lose a kill, don't even trade one over. That is massive for CLG, and now they're on this Infernal Dragon. They want to try to burn it down here. They will be able to get it. Yeah, big swing in the game here for CLG. Getting a lot out of that, where FlyQuest had come out pretty far ahead in this initial play. So let's watch this one more time. I do think if Santorin just immediately commits the ult, he should have been able to get it off. The first tower shot comes in, Santorin hits him with the E. If you've just pre-channeled your ult, I'm pretty sure that will just go off even through that stun onto Ruin. Instead, the stun comes out, delays it, the pillar comes over, buys enough time for flash, shield, heal. The second part of that shield comes through. And that is a tilter for FlyQuest, not able to knock down Ruin.
And paying off certainly, as Biofrost with a nice roam also gives his team the Dragon. Santorin had no ult and no health left, so not much he can do, even though Wiggily didn't have his smite for the objective, which is why it looked a little hairy at the end there. Santorin, though, is at least stealing away the blue buff, so it does take that away from CLG's side of the map. Yeah. But kind of the early game plans going right now for CLG.
Yeah, and Biofrost, certainly a big beneficiary of this. He's made 2 roams to mid, saving his teammate on the second one, getting a kill on the first. Has the early Frostfang as well as the Fiendish Codex, going kind of this more aggressive style with the Comet, and has been looking really good thus far. That roam was so big. They need to make sure that Ruin is in a position to continue winning this lane, to be winning that 1v1. That is why you pick this champion. So, really want to be making sure you're protecting him. Unfortunately for CLG, none of the kills have gone to Ruin, so, not really ahead in gold. But they can still be pretty happy about how things have gone overall. That being said, Viper doing very well in the 1v1 on the top side. He had that great TP in, got a kill and assist, and he's up 20 CS, so things looking good for Viper.
Good bind there though, but Wadid instantly with the Devour. Gonna make sure Santorin gets out safely. Still A lot of proactivity from junglers and supports on either side here as CLG lining up to clear vision on this right-hand side of the river. Also, both marksmen have been farming up kind of as things have developed. Stixxay still up about not quite 10 CS, so his perma-pushing ways in the early game have worked out well. But really, just all the activity around the center of the map has been the big story so far.
Yeah, they've managed to just keep the loss to one turret plate thus far on the bottom side. You know, thankfully, I think that is partially because Wadid just decided to roam, so Biofrost is matching. You don't have that non-stop push. Sivir can't push 1v1 against Lucian. That is too dangerous, so...
Ooh, they just saw the Neeko. Ruin actually snuck up here. Now gonna pop the ulti. Big Fury heavy stun. And there's a pop blossom, but Viper is gonna get flashed on. Gets out maybe with a W, but need to try and follow. No, Flash is here for Ruin, but a great route again. Gonna stop the bleeding for now. The laser does get her. The Q spins around, and Ruin able to finally grab the kill.
Viper played that actually so well, and it looked like it was gonna be a bit of a pie in the face to CLG as PowerOfEvil flashed into the ultimate route. And then Ruin flashed into the regular route. It looked like Viper might have almost been able to get away, but not quite with that face check onto the Renekton. So dangerous if he is able to get up on your face like that. And you know, Viper playing this out quite well. The stun coming out, you know, this was really nicely done also from Ruin, but going into that clone, dropping the ultimate route, then flashing into the route there from Ruin. A little bit preemptive. You want to try to flash over that. That being said, they still do get the chase down, they get the kill. They do just have to expend the extra flash to do it.
Still a great roam from Ruin at the end of the day, sneaking behind and trying to even things up a little in the top side. GOP, though, is now done for Viper, so he can certainly start to look and leave the lane and try and bully the map elsewhere, or call his jungle up and set up ganks. Neeko very good at assisting your jungler in any sort of kill. And we do actually see the 2 upgrade tier build once again here from PowerOfEvil. We saw this from Ryu last game. So I guess with the mana ratio on the Q and just being a very mana-intensive champion, I can see how this build makes a lot of sense for someone like Viktor.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. So a bit of a new adaptation, it seems like, you know, for the patch. People kind of making that move. Certainly hadn't been the build last patch that we had been seeing, you know, when Viktor was popping up. But you know, people deciding to go for that additional mana regen, and also Seraphs is always just so strong. You know, that on top of the shield, it's very similar to kind of what we used to see from Ryze when Ryze had the passive shield last patch in addition to Seraphs. Sometimes if you don't initially burst them down 100 to 0, it becomes so difficult to actually take them out. And especially in this kind of a composition, when you also have the Lux shielding coming in across that too, you have to be damn sure that you're going to be able to 100 to 0 him. And against, you know, this sort of a team, you know, the first kind of punch of the fight from FlyQuest with the Neeko ultimate and the Irelia ultimate and all these things coming through, they have to burst someone down, it feels like.
Well, we'll see. Maybe that come into play around this Drake fight, because Infernal is up in 2 seconds for the taking. TPs are ready for both our topside players right now. In fact, all 4 TPs are up from the top half of the map. Pobelter going to get a stun onto Ruin, but no ultis expended as team still posturing for a bit of real estate here around the Drake.
Yeah, and both top laners, you know, not joining just yet, but they do have teleport available. Pobelter and Santorin are waiting on a ward, so you know, really full knowledge from both teams of kind of what the other squad is doing. CLG going to look to just try to get control of the lanes, push these up before I think they make their move. Ruin trying to shove this in, trying to kind of posture aggressively here and see if they can get any sort of advantage before they make their move.
So another 2v2 brewing. Pobelter again going to be the target. Here comes Viper's TP though. Wiggily chasing in, maybe a bit too far, but Santorin went deep for Ruin to get the Impale down. Santorin able to finish it off as Viper has the pop blossom to set it all up again as Pobelter now getting low. The Lux laser not going to connect. So Pobelter will get away.
2 times now. Viper with very effective teleports. He'd already backed off before that fight started, so he could not be interrupted there by PowerOfEvil. And as a result, off of Viper's TP, FlyQuest will grab the Infernal and even that right back up. Big win there for FlyQuest.
I mean, even in kills, currently even in turrets, even in gold, and now even in Drakes. They're even the same type. Very close.
Yeah, and Pobelter is falling behind, or rather, he's putting Ruin behind in this matchup that Ruin picked for the counter pick. And here this is one more time. The much faster teleport coming through from Neeko. Santorin flash ults him right back into the waiting arms of Viper, hits the root, hits the pop blossom. It's full retreat for CLG. Pobelter sidestepping the Lux ultimate is able to get out, and that means it's an easy dragon now for FlyQuest. And the Renekton thus far really not working out. FlyQuest is just playing very well around this mid lane, and it's now not only the CS advantage, it's the kill, it's the CS, it's a lot kind of going in the favor of Pobelter, but Biofrost able to steal away that scuttle. Pretty nicely done.
Have to see the CLG want to go aggressively for this Rift Herald here because plates have now dropped off, so there's not that advantage you can try and get, but of course getting a turret, especially the first turret, always valuable. So it does seem like they've swapped their duo to the top half of the map. Ruin with some free time in the bottom half of the map, actually taking down a pretty significant amount of the turret's health as well. And it does seem like CLG are committing to playing for this side right now.
Yeah, and despite the fact that the Renekton pick isn't going great for CLG, they can still feel very good about the fact that you have a Viktor and Sivir who are scaling, right? And that is some serious late game insurance there, where it does feel like FlyQuest comp to me is much more kind of mid game, early game centric with Lucian, the Irelia. Those are champions that I think you can have more of a difficult time when you get to the full late game against the likes of what CLG is running. So we'll see when FlyQuest is going to try to turn up the pace a little bit here, but Wiggily lying in wait. He's behind him. They may want to go for this.
Stixxay trying to act natural. Here's Biofrost again. There's Wiggily, surprise! Wadid going to be the first target, but he flashes away. And plays off now for CLG.
Yeah, but still, nice little play. Going to be lying in wait in that brush. Does get the flash off of Wadid, which not only makes it more dangerous for him, but also, honestly, for the Lucian too, for those carries, because they're not going to have that additional safety of Tahm Kench flash devouring them if they do get caught out. A little bit separated away. Pobelter, though, splitting it up on the bottom side. Has kind of been a lot of what he has really been liking to do this split. A lot of Rise games, heavy split push focus, playing some Jace, split push focus, now here on the Irelia. He's going to be closing in. No, he already has the Triforce, so that is really big buy, and you're going to start to feel like you can win those 1v1s against Ruin at this point.
Black Cleaver is nice for the Renekton, but we'll see how those play out as Pobelter returns to that half of the map. FlyQuest also just rotated extra people up just to make sure that CLG is freely pushing top lane attack. Given a little bit more attention. See Stixxay forced to play a bit more defensive because his jungler has left the area, and there is still this Herald to try and play for. Double control, let's see if the CLG are going to get taken out.
Yeah, I think FlyQuest should be playing aggressively for the Herald. It makes a lot of sense. They have great vision in this whole area along the map. You can see this whole line of wards here. They have a line of defensive vision here as well. So the river is really kind of well and truly theirs, rather on the side of FlyQuest. So they should be kind of moving towards that. I also think that when you do have the Triforce on the Irelia, the Bladed Rune King on the Lucian, you have the Super Soaker on Neeko as well. And this is a really strong one-item power spike kind of for all of these champions, and they want to try to utilize that to get neutral objectives and really kind of push that pace to kind of dissuade CLG from being able to just sit back and farm passively and wait to scale.
Well, certainly hand was forced as Wiggily went down to the bottom lane to try and make sure Ruin got that first turret, which he did collect. As you can see, 1,000 gold up right now for CLG thanks to that bonus gold. But the Herald does go over, Santorin collects it, and here comes Biofrost looking for the bind. Wadid with a nice sidestep does get out of there. FlyQuest safe as they secure the objective. CLG not able to find any extra picks.
And we'll have to see what they can actually get done with this Rift Herald. We are post 14 minutes, so no plates to cash in on. But usually people will use it at this point in the game to try to attack that mid lane. As you're getting closer to 20 minutes, opening up the mid lane turret, giving you more access towards the Baron Pit becomes a very important part of the game, part of the map to really kind of fight over. So we'll see if they're going to be able to go for that. You can see Ruin also building towards Spear of Shojin. So this is really kind of the 1v1 style of build. With Shojin, when you do have that completion, the matchup again can kind of swing back in Renekton's favor. People who are really adept at actually utilizing this with Renekton animation canceling and kind of getting the most of weaving in the autos and actually proccing Spear of Shojin to reduce the cooldown on your abilities, you can get multiple rounds of your stun off in one single 1v1, which makes it very difficult for Irelia to kind of be actually dashing back and forth and healing up with the Q and stacking up your Q passive as well. To be able to kind of win that fight as you would want to.
More of the Ruin we expected to see. He was certainly someone who loved the side lane, both in the TCL and of course at NSI when he played during the play-in. So not an option right now because there's a Drake to fight over. FlyQuest have already started the mountain. Ruin is going to stick there and take the tower. Maybe CLG are just trying for a 50-50.
Oh, they're TPing in from behind. They want to commit to this, but Viper, remember, has flash already.
Take it all back. Santorin a little bit low. Root in the front side gets Wiggily down. A good ult there from Pobelter, but he's going to get melted down. PowerOfEvil able to take down the Irelia, but Ruin quickly dispatched as well. Still CLG, though, have traction on the objective, able to take down the mountain as a bonus.
Yeah, still good trade there for CLG. 1-for-1 on the solo laners, but you get the dragon, so they're going to be feeling pretty happy about that. Good collapses from both squads to actually turn and fight the 1 instead of kind of being corralled into the 4. Shojin now already done there from Ruin off the back of that fight, and the Mountain Dragon will be pretty helpful here. Pobelter, though, fully spotted out. He wanted to look for the flank. He comes in, hits the 3-man ulti, but Ruin is behind them, and it's a nice binding onto Pobelter. Remember, that W does not reduce magic damage anymore as of quite a while ago, so the damage coming through from Viktor as well as Biofrost, very significant, and is able to burst him down.
Yeah. A reminder that we are still looking for FlyQuest to pop the Eye of the Herald and try and take down a turret. Can be tricky if Viktor is sitting in the mid lane, just wave clearing forever. In fact, perfect hex core done along with the staff. Looking to get upgraded relatively soon, I would imagine. Means that FlyQuest, if Viktor is there, might have a bit more trouble, but actually he's in the side lane right now.
Yeah, I mean, he is sitting on 600 stacks, so, you know, working up. But you don't even need him there. You have Sivir as well, right? Like, you have two of the best wave clear champions in the game. FlyQuest basically have to kill them before they can siege or get the Baron before they can siege. You can't just walk up to a turret and expect to be able to do anything. So I do always like when teams are kind of taking that into account. If you're going to commit to a split push style of build, a 1v1 style of build, Shojin can work in team fights, sure, but you'd generally rather have a Stixxay because it's harder to get enough auto attacks off in a team fight to get the full benefit out of this item compared to a 1v1. So you have Ruin, commit to a 1v1 style of build, then you have heavy wave clear on 2 champions, and you use that to buy time, but it's a 2-man collapse. You're down on the bottom side. PowerOfEvil.
The great equalizer, Predator Skarner into the Pop Blossom after the Impale. Goodbye PoE, but play on the top side instead onto Pobelter. 3 members of CLG looking to chase it down. It's Wiggily with a flash Q that's able to grab it.
It's a little bit of deja vu there as Pobelter and Ruin going down once again, as they did in that dragon fight. Or rather, PowerOfEvil, excuse me. So now WildTurtle is going to be dropped mid lane. They have taken out the Viktor. We did see Stixxay actually going back to base, so no one here to wave clear just yet, but I don't think they're going to be able to knock down the turret with this Rift Herald unless they have more members coming in. They are kind of committing to it now with WildTurtle coming around, so they will eventually get it in trade for the top lane tier 2. And you can see how much of a commitment for vision there has been from CLG up to this topside jungle. Look at all these wards. This is all CLG vision on the other side of the map. This is a really, really nice setup. That is pretty much ideal for a split pusher. There's no way you can really be approached without knowing where your opponents are coming from. Pobelter wave clearing here up on the top side. Ruin straight in onto him. Biofrost flash binding out of that stun from Renekton, and then Wiggily coming through. Another flash to chase him down and take him out. So pretty expensive kill. It does cost them 3 flashes, but they do end up cleaning it up.
The mid lane outer did go down, and bot lane outer there for FlyQuest, so they'll keep the turrets pretty close to even. Turtle did have to TP in mid lane to make sure the outer turret fell in mid, but not a particularly big investment for an AD.
Yeah, not
happy to make the trade.
And I think he had to, right? You know, it didn't look like they were actually going to get it until he did TP in.
I don't think TK and Shelly going to get it done.
Yeah, they weren't going to be able to, so drop the ward, he TPs in. Nice little move from them there. But quietly, I mean, Stixxay hasn't really been a part of the game at all, but you're going to be really happy.
It's a Civic Classic.
Exactly. I mean, Lucian's sitting at 23 minutes, you know, 1-0-0, 2 items, that's fine, right? But you're going to be very happy to be Sivir at this point and just kind of had a smooth farm game where you're working towards your IE. At that point, you know, Lucian's never going to be as strong as you when you're on 3 items as Sivir from then till the end of time. So it does get very difficult, but Santorin looking for a play here.
Just glory pop, very speedy Scorpion, but Pillar is going to block out any potential attempt. So CLG disengage from that possible engage.
Yeah, you can also notice 2 QSSs have actually come through here for CLG. You'll note it is on the solo laners, the guys who are very likely going to be out in those side lanes. And Santorin, wants to be able to collapse, potentially in combination with Wadid to actually punish any sort of side lane play. The QSS is going to be a bit of an answer to that, going to make it much more difficult. And also, if Ruin were to TP into the back of a team fight, you can't just Skarner ult him and then turn on him and kill him for free. You're going to need a little bit more than that, certainly. And also pretty helpful in the 1v1 against Neeko with both the root and the Pop Blossom root. So a lot of uses for that, and going to be feeling like a pretty good buy.
CLG trying to shove mid here because there's a Drake they want in 5 seconds. The mountain will spawn. Viper actually in a pretty good flank spot of his own. As the team's trying to step around the play, there's the flash into Biofrost. Santorin has found a good target, and that's going to be a kill as Wadid on Turtle. Able to flank around as well. Pobelter with a nice ulti. Onto PowerOfEvil. Now Stixxay going to have to fight his way out of there. The Pop Blossom goes, he finds the root, but Stixxay flashes out, and also I think PoE barely escaped on the other end. It's now Ruin who's going to join the fight. Spear on top. Wadid with the cleanse does get out of there.
Yeah, Wadid able to escape with his life, and they do get the kill on Biofrost. So 1 for 0 there from FlyQuest. Very close fight. A lot of summoners blown on both sides. But CLG have more health in the tank, and they're going to be the ones to go grab the second Mountain Dragon. Infernal plus double Mount. The threat of rushing down a Baron becomes very, very real now. FlyQuest will have to keep really good tabs on this Baron. So Biofrost stepping forward, wants to clear. He'd already used the Lucian Singularity to check around the corner. Doesn't have eyes on Santorin, who commits the flash ult. Then Wadid, Turtle flashing in from behind, not quite able to kill off PowerOfEvil. The shielding coming through from the Seraphs and the Q means that he is able to survive. Turtle has to flash out. Wadid also has to use that cleanse and get out of there.
But he did, FlyQuest, at least get the kill. They don't get the Drake, though, so I think CLG will be pretty happy with the trade, all things considered.
Yeah, I think especially because it's just a support kill, not the end of the world, no big shutdown, no one, they're super important off the map, so, Biofrost goes down, but, it gets harder and harder. I really do feel like for FlyQuest, the onus is going to be on them to be able to create some sort of a great flank with the Neeko or some sort of an amazing pick here from Santorin, but, CLG are going to have very quickly a 3-item Stixxay here on Sivir. They have the late game from Lux, which is so incredibly powerful for a support with this AoE shielding. And Viktor plus Sivir can just melt through pretty much everyone in combination with the Trundle, who's going to ult your frontliner, so they're even squishier. It is very, very scary to kind of fight forward into this CLG team.
And on that, I think the game is on this Tahm Kench. We've seen it from Liquid already today, where you need to be able to use his ultimate effectively to try and make plays around the map, because that's one of the reasons you draft Tahm Kench. And with Wadid coming up, his first game here with the LCS team on stage, that's a lot of pressure to put on a player, because FlyQuest don't have that many other options to try and find a good fight.
Yeah, they certainly don't. I mean, just using the pillar to step up and actually get some damage down on this.
Oh, he's just CC'd forever. Goes into station.
Just turn on Pobelter now.
Sivir pop, gravity field, not up here. But Pobelter going to try and find his way out. Oh, good stasis, actually going to buy a bit more time, but I don't think it's enough for Santorin. Got his legs caught in a light binding.
Yeah, now they could potentially just go straight to Baron. I mean, you have double Mountain here. You could threaten to run this down, so they're going to shove out mid. We'll see if they do decide to go for it or just try to get some more vision, but you can see how annoying those zoning tools are. CLG have done this a number of times throughout the season now. Losing Singularity on one side, Gravity Field on the other, the Trundle pillar goes down. It's so hard as a short-range marksman like Lucian to walk forward into that to try to clear out the wave. Lucian's wave clear is already very unimpressive, so you're very, very reliant on Viper as kind of the only safe wave clear whatsoever. Irelia can't do it, Lucian can't do it, and now CLG are on the Baron here. They're looking to get this Baron and try to secure the game for themselves. Santorin has no flash, mind you. He'd have to run straight through the Viktor to get into this pit.
And PowerOfEvil actually went back and bought his IE for the fight
Viper
as well.
They're flanking.
Ruin also trying to find something. I think the Baron's going to be CLG's, but can they get out safely? Live binding onto Santorin prevents that. PowerOfEvil even looking to chase down the Neeko. Here's Ruin looking for the flank, finds Santorin for the stun. Scorpion locked up with the Impales. The shield going to try and keep him alive. Into stasis he goes, but great ult from Bio, almost enough to get the execute kill. But now FlyQuest are on the wrong side of the map.
Yeah, exactly. CLG just need to push, but they're chasing down Pobelter.
Sivir ulti again. Ruin finds a stun. Pobelter off to a minion, trying to get his way out of there, but locked up for too long. Wiggily able to chomp him down. It's CLG with Baron straight down mid lane.
Yeah, and I mean, this is honestly a Baron that you could just end the game with potentially here. The wave clear is so poor on the side of FlyQuest, even without that Baron buff. They are really going to struggle to actually stop this Baron push whatsoever. You have So many zoning tools. And PowerOfEvil just, there it goes, gravity field drop down. Now you have to back off as the Neeko. They can step forward and poke away at this. You can see Ruin pushing in the top side. 2 inhibitor towers, very, very low.
Oh, another fight found. Wadid found the Devour under Santorin, but he might get himself killed in the process. PowerOfEvil able to chase down one. It's Wiggily that finds a second. In fact, PoE even looking for more. He's going to force Turtle away. And that's one in hit broken, but CLG, they are going to go in for the kill. They find the route. The Pobelter from Viper does buy a little bit of extra time, but the Nexus will now be in pieces as CLG will find yet another win. And Pobelter back to respawn only to watch himself die again. As Counter Logic Gaming claim victory.
CLG looking good once again here. Wiggily, a deathless game, 4-0 and 5 on the Trundle. They made it work across the map. You know, there's some really active early games from both teams. A lot of fighting around this Renekton Irelia matchup, trying to kind of protect their laners and trying to put them ahead in this pivotal matchup. But it was CLG, despite the fact that they were kind of losing out on that 1v1, that FlyQuest was making some good plays. They were just passively, slowly kind of losing the game because you have a Sivir farming evenly against the Lucian, you have the Viktor farming out against this Neeko, and CLG had an incredibly strong late game, which FlyQuest had no answer for once they got there.
And it feels like we're starting to build, a picture of what CLG look like when they win. They've played a lot of very consistent comps, they've played a lot of similar champions, and they're executing very well in almost all their games.
Yeah, I mean, they're utilizing, their sieging. Their sieging is so good. We've seen this in a number of games. Lux plus Viktor, zone off the wave clear. They're not able to approach the turrets, siege the turrets. They did it with Caitlyn Lux. They did it here with Lux and the Viktor, utilizing that to kind of zone out their opposing team. So it's Sivir, a short range AD who normally struggles to siege, can do that. And they're kind of having Ruin be this playmaker for the team who is buying time, for these other guys to kind of scale up and get going. PowerOfEvil and Stixxay didn't really have to be involved in the game until much later. It was kind of just the core three. It was Ruin, Wiggily, and Biofrost making plays and moving around the map. And meanwhile, Sivir's getting strong, Viktor's getting strong.
A relaxing Sivir game, I think. Everyone's about leaving the lane, you're just casually farming up against the Lucian. And I think for Ruin, I actually like that he's maybe becoming a bit more of the X factor. But for more on that win, Riv is standing by with the victorious support.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Counter Logic Gaming's Biofrost from the bot lane, breaking out the Lux once again. I have to ask, the last few patches have allowed supports to kind of deviate from the regular just tanky play. How's it been playing Lux and these other champions to make plays from the support position?
It's a lot of fun. I think that she's really versatile as a champion. Like, I went Comet this game because I felt like I didn't need Aftershock or like Guardian. You're welcome. And yeah, it's just really oppressive because you just constantly push the wave and you can't really interact with her.
And that was my next question. Comet, Aftershock, Guardian, which do you prefer now?
Honestly, I like Comet because I'm a lane player, but it's not good in every situation. You can't run it against Nautilus, you're just gonna feed. So it depends on the situation, I think.
Awesome. Looking at tomorrow, you're probably going to have to fight Azael for Lux. How do you feel against Cloud9? And how do you think that one will play out?
Well, Cloud9 actually looked pretty bad today, which I feel like... What? No, way. Well,
Speaking truth, it's truth.
But I think that's because of the comp they picked, and if they have a better comp tomorrow, I think it'll be a lot closer. I think every game is like super close right now since it's a best of one. People are still like finding out the meta, and a lot of the times, if you have a bad draft, you just end up losing the game. So I think that's what happened to C9.
All right, Biofrost, thank you from us for digging into that. We're going to head to the analyst desk, the State Farm analyst desk, to break that one down.
Thank you very much, Riv. Counter Logic Gaming will join the three-way tie for first at 5-2 with that victory there over a struggling FlyQuest, continuing to struggle here in the summer split. I do want to start with Champion Select. Crumbs, I know you have some opinions on the way that FlyQuest has been approaching Champion Select so far, summer split.
That's right. They're struggling not just in the game, but even before the game. In Champion Select, I think this draft just blows, honestly. You got Lucian right now. you're asking to try to win the early game when you still can't find your identity. To top things off, then you go with the Irelia and the Neeko, which are picks that were good in the last patch, and now we've got a new patch. We have seen so many more answers, like the Renekton that's getting picked around the globe, and then you have a Skarner that's supposed to try to skirmish early. Like, nothing makes sense. Like, you're not setting your team up for success. So when I saw what Counter Logic Gaming had, I was like, well, no matter what, unless FlyQuest smashes the game in 20 minutes, CLG is just going to win, and that's exactly what happened. The game dragged on, CLG wins, bam, thank you.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me is, as much as I hate the FlyQuest comp because it feels like a bunch of people just picking what they want to play, CLG, on the other hand, is exactly what we want out of CLG. It's strong bot lane, strong top lane, scaling mage in the mid lane, and Wiggily on tank duty, and being a perfect frontliner. And yeah, they had to swap the lanes around to get more acceptable lane matchups, but that's fine because your overall team comp is still what CLG is good at.
I also want to sound the alarm. You got to keep your eyes on Renekton right now. Pick right now is crazy good, super good in lane, and actually transitions fantastically into the mid game. And with team fights with Spear Shojin, you're actually an absolute beast. So expect Renekton to be more and more common throughout the LCS.
Mark, you already mentioned that the Renekton got swapped to the mid lane to match the Irelia, and that's where all of the action was happening in the early game. Surrounding that mid lane, both junglers for either squad paying close attention to their mid laners or pseudo mid laners in this case. Kills going either way, remaining relatively even through the early portions.
And this was really scary when it happened because it's a 2-for-0 in favor of FlyQuest to kick things off, as well as the fact that they had the lanes kind of pushing in their favor. So I thought this was a great start, but then they overstay a little bit, and Rune TPs back after dying from the flank, and they're able to get another collapse. And that's just, you know, sloppy play by FlyQuest. And as the game went on and the first couple kills happened, they eventually hit this lull.
A little greedy here.
So sloppy and greedy. You have it right there, right? You're trying to snowball. You just need to get the kill. And then Biofrost makes the second roam again, because the first one, it was him that claimed the kill on Pobelter, and then once again shows up, denies the kill, gets a play. I think from that point on, the morale just plummeted for FlyQuest.
Yeah, but look at that goal graph. I mean, like, we saw this early scrapping. We thought we were in for a doozy of a game looking at these drafts, and then it just, like, the pulse stopped. It was flatlined, literally flatlined, until CLG won the game.
And to be fair to CLG, they're fine sitting in a flatline state for a long period of time. The onus was on FlyQuest here to actually get something done, and I think that's where we maybe can turn a critical eye to the mid laner for FlyQuest in Pobelter. Had 7 deaths in just this game for his team. The next highest on his team was 2.
I mean, I don't know what happened to Pobelter, or to be honest, all of FlyQuest, but when you just look at Pobelter's numbers, he's a rock in North America. He's always a stud for his team. He is tied for most deaths in the LCS right now. He has the 3rd worst KDA of any player in the LCS. Usually that's reserved for junglers and supports, never mid laners. And then he's also the worst, you know, as you can probably expect, mid laner KDA wise. And so, yes, KDA is not the only stat to look at. It's more indicative of the problem than the symptoms themselves or the problem themselves. But at the end of the day, these are isolated deaths a lot of the time too. This game, they're trading kills back and forth. There'd be someone random on CLG gets picked off, but always Pellable that they're getting picked off on the other side.
Right. I mean, clearly not very comfortable with the Irelia, especially into the Irelia versus Renekton matchup in the mid lane. And I would want to cut him some slack, because I think that the draft really does not set up Irelia. But like you said, it's really undeniable that when you have such a large percentage of the game, because what this game should have been for FlyQuest is the one in spring where they do fall behind against TSM, and you simply wait for Santorin, the champion that has to find the picks, the Skarner, to bring you back into the game. You don't have to have every single member looking for something.
FlyQuest's spring split form is what makes their current form frustrating, right? The idea that they had landed on an identity, that things were working, and they knew how they, as a 5-man unit, won games in spring, seeming to have just fallen to the wayside is what's frustrating about all this. But by the same token, I think we have to talk about a Counter Logic Gaming that now sits at 5-2. And Mark, they were your pick at the top of the day as one of those teams in the top 6, not TL, TSM, or C9, that could challenge in the quarterfinals and make it to finals weekend in Detroit.
Kobe would be mad at me. I was a doubting Thomas. I had no faith for the first half of the split, basically. Freak was on the bandwagon way before I was all on up to it. But now that I've seen them gelling, I'm starting to believe a lot in this team. We talk about how their play style matches up very well. They're all on the same page. They've figured out how they're going to play together. They have an upgrade from their previous splits, and so they feel like a really good team.
I just love that when you spread out the narrative over these teams throughout the year, you can see how high or low we were on them at the start, and then suddenly now we're like, oh, we finally get it. Yes, they're so good. Jump on the bandwagon.
Let me on there.
Get all
There's
that.
room, right?
Well, that's the fun of being in these seats, right?
Yeah.
It's not fun to be on stage when you're in the slumps.
No, without a doubt. But this C9, or not C9, my bad, CLG roster, I think I still wonder what happens when they do stack up against the TLs, the C9s, and the TSMs, right? This was our now last place team in FlyQuest that they just beat. But again, there was that back and forthness. There still was a pick on the side of CLG for every pick there was on the side of FlyQuest. And cleaning up those moments is probably what will elevate them into the top 4.
But to be fair, every top team is having these kind of skirmishy back and forth games. We saw one from C9 and TL earlier today.
All right, there you have it. First place is now shared between 3 teams, and one of those is CLG, sitting at 5-2. We got one more game today as Echo Fox and Clutch Gaming load onto the Rift for Game 5, so don't touch that browser.